What a fool you are. I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. How could you be so naive? Lay down your weapons. It is not too late for my mercy.
Dagoth Ur is my favorite video game villain. Top 5, at least. But for someone whose forces need to be contained behind a fence made out of souls, you'd think he'd be more lethal in a fight. I genuinely can't remember my first full playthrough of Morrowind. All I do remember is that I didn't know about Mark and Recall or either of the intervention spells. It was a heavy armor, sword and board Nord. Needless to say, getting around the map took quite some time. The only distinct memory I have of that playthrough is wandering around the Caldera Ebony Mine. That's literally it. How did I react when I first encountered Dagoth Ur? No idea. The fight itself left no impression on me. Honestly, I'm just here for the memes. The fight wasn't hard, is my point. None of the Elder Scrolls games are known for being difficult, and somehow I've tricked you all into thinking these challenge runs are challenging. But such a thematically potent villain should be more of a threat, and that's where this mod comes in. Beware the 6th house. This mod not only improves the stats and abilities of Dagoth Ur, but it buffs all 6th house enemies, some to a greater degree than others. So this run will be focused on killing all 7 Ash Vampires and then defeating Dagoth Ur, becoming a terror that the 6th house must fear. Our name is 7, because 6 is scared of us, since we ate their sins, and 7, 8, 9, I don't know. I get the idea for these runs, start at Morrowind, and then I'm faced with the hardest damn question immediately, and I don't want to sit here for 20 minutes trying to figure out a name. 7, 8, 9, 6 is scared. Beware the 6th house, whoa. We'll be taking the back path for this run, so we'll want to maximize our endurance as soon as possible before leveling up even the first time. That way we optimize our health gains. By taking endurance as a favorite attribute, and taking the Lady Birth sign, we'll have 85 endurance right out the gate. And with alchemy as a minor skill, we can level up really fast just by buying ingredients from merchants, so getting enough health to jury-rig Wraithguard shouldn't be too difficult. Everything else is pretty standard. Weapons skill axe, armor skill heavy, some utility magic schools, acrobatics, athletics. This build will be ineffective against one of the vampires, but I've got a plan for that. You'll see. Our run begins like any other. Visit Satanine's public hat rack. Gather and sell loot around Balmora for gold. Join guilds and ransack their supply chests. Buy spells like Summon Bound Battle Axe. And run a few errands for Edwina Albert until she gives us the Divine and Civi Intervention amulets. Oh, and buy the Amulet of Recall from Varric Germain, and some marking potions from Nalcaria of Whitehaven. The first 30 minutes of every run is basically the same. Some runs I kill and loot the Dark Brotherhood Assassin for easy gear and gold. Other runs I don't bother. But this run isn't another run, so we'll save those restrictions for another run another time. As I'd mentioned, we're going to want to optimize our health gain per level, so before we consider getting to level 2, we got to take a sip from the Bittercup. This is another thing I tend to do at the start of my runs, but it's not as trivial as stealing from the crates, so I figure I shouldn't gloss over it. From Kull, we use a Scroll of Icarian Flight to jump somewhat close to Aldredania, and drink a levitation potion just above the Velothi Tower so we don't overshoot it. I'm sure I wouldn't have that much trouble fighting off Slaughterfish and Dreg if I land in the water, but the fewer enemies I have to deal with, the better. I could have aimed for the ground and used another Scroll of Icarian Flight just before landing, because the acrobatics boost from the scroll negates the falling damage, but I've only got 3 scrolls, and I don't want to waste them when I could just use a levitation potion. Since I'm level 1, or rather since I exist in this game, the archer skeletons outside Aldredania are absolute monsters. Someone in the comments had noted that the arrows archers use come from leveled lists, so even though they're level 1, they could spawn with some potent enchanted arrows if the dice are in their favor. Although to be fair, unenchanted arrows would probably chew through my health anyway. So of course we're here for the Bittercup, and the key unlocking the door to the upper levels of this tower is behind these ghosts on this crate near the dead skeleton. But the key also unlocks this chest submerged under the water, which is technically redundant. Why would the sentence sound incomplete if I said, but the key also unlocks this submerged chest? There are several etymology people on YouTube Shorts. I wonder if I can ask them this question. The book in here is wet, but it's still readable, and that's great because it gives an acrobatics level. I assume the books in Morrowind are written on vellum and not paper. Same with the scrolls. This scroll here, probably also vellum, will be useful later. It boosts our attack by 10 to 30 points for 60 seconds. If there's an NPC that offers a restocking supply of these scrolls, then I don't know who it is. I assume it only appears as a pull from the random scroll list, and maybe it appears in a few specific locations. The boss skeleton guarding the Bittercup possesses the Vampiric Ring, a powerful artifact that can drain 10 to 20 points of fatigue and health for 10 seconds on touch. The charge cost to use the spell is high, but it's strong nonetheless. It's a good oh shit button. Damage the enemy while healing myself. Why is this one so slippery? Okay, align the shot. There we go. These soul gems might be useful. Because we took the lady sign, our personality is 55, so we'll need to put in a little extra work to make it our lowest stat before we actually drink from the Bittercup. How do we reduce our personality? Become a YouTuber. But YouTube doesn't exist in the Elder Scrolls universe, so our next best option is picking up the cup and taking it with us to the Aldrun Mages Guild, where we can buy a Drain Attribute spell from Himla. Knowing that spell, we can spell make a custom drain spell that drains our own personality. Another option could be drinking various alcoholic beverages to boost my other attributes above 55, but this is simpler. Drain personality, 26 points for 5 seconds on self. That should do it. Low cast chance, but what's a few dice rolls among friends? Oh, first try. Actually, first try this time. That's not a bit. Take a swig from the cup, and we trade 20 points of personality for 20 points of endurance. Well, 15 points of endurance, because we already had 85, but you know what I mean. With 100 endurance, every level up will give us 10 extra points of health. Health gain from endurance isn't retroactive, so the earlier we have this maxed out, the more hit points we'll get overall. The last bit of prep we need to do before hunting down our first Ash Vampire is making some potions. We could buy exclusive health and fatigue potions from Nalcaria, but those are expensive. Instead, we'll buy crab meat from Majora in Balmora, and marshmallow and salt rice from Cilium Plebo in Wolverine Hall. Together, these 3 ingredients can make potions that restore both health and fatigue at the same time. Our alchemy level is low, so the potions aren't too strong, but they're basically free. Well, 14 points of fatigue for 41 seconds is actually pretty good. But 3 health for 8 seconds? Yeah, it's not that great. Still better than failing to cast Hearth Heal, though. I could have bought Scrib Jerky from the other priest in Wolverine Hall, Antonius Felonius or something. But Scrib Jerky costs way more than crab meat. Also, why you gotta eat the scrib? The last bit of prep we'll be doing is getting the Mentor's Ring. We'll be relying on summoning a bound battle axe for these fights, so a bit of extra magicka shouldn't hurt. We'll buy a Master Probe from Nileno Dorvain, tear through the Samaris Ancestral Tomb, and loot the ring. Our first target is the only Ash Vampire outside the Ghost Fence, Dagoth Araynys, in the Caverns of Mamea. We don't know a lot about Mamea. There's a dearth of lore about this place, but we do know that all of this sandy white substance is possibly bone. This dungeon also shares the name with a merchant from the Ahamusa clan, and it's also the name of the Foyata running south from Red Mountain, under the Arkingthan Bridge, and terminating at the minor 6th house base, Hassauer. What's interesting is Hassauer, the dungeon, also shares a name with an NPC, Hassauer Zain Subani, a former Ashlander who joined up with the Thieves Guild. You talk to him during the main quest. But do you know who his son is? Henat Zain Subani, and he's trapped within the Caverns of Mamea. Foyata Mamea ends with Hassauer. Hassauer's son is in the Cavern of Mamea. It's all connected. Probably a coincidence. We don't have to save him though, we're hunting vampires. In this dungeon, we're gonna get a taste of the new 6th house, the house we're supposed to beware. The Dreamers are unchanged. Corporate Stalkers are way more durable now. Still not super threatening, but they certainly take more punishment than usual, and they have meteor attacks. But what about the Ash Slaves? Well, the first thing you'll notice is they don't have their glowing purple shields. Instead, they have an innate 20% spell reflect and a Firebite spell. They certainly don't make it easy to dodge out of their touch range either. They've got 120 health instead of 60, and they deal more damage in a single hit, so they're more deadly than their vanilla counterparts. It does still have its shock spell, which has been made stronger, but I'm a Nord, so that's probably why it never bothered using it. It's nice that it has choices to make. Dagoth Araynys is a mage breaker. His signature spell not only deals health, fatigue, agility, and speed damage, but it also casts a dispel effect on himself, making magic dots ineffective. He's also got a 50% resistance to shock, and those are just the things unique to him. What's common between all the vampires is that they're now immune to paralysis, they're immune to poison, they're immune to normal weapons, and they have the Dunmer racial granting them 75% resistance to fire. You could argue that they're not technically Dunmer since Dagoth Ur died as a Chimer, but maybe he built his army from modern-day Vardenfellers, not the original members of his fallen house. Or maybe the Chimer had that racial ability too. I don't know. Oh, also, they have 100 agility, so their evasion rolls are high and they're hard to knock down. even with a battle axe. My biggest problem is that his spells are pretty easy to dodge, so as long as you don't get hit, he's basically a target dummy. Much like their health pools, the vampires have had their magical pools expanded quite significantly. This means they can cast these spells for a lot longer, but it doesn't matter how often they can cast a spell if they can't hit an enemy with it. What makes Almalexia so hard to fight is that her spell has an area of effect that fills almost the entire room. You could dodge the projectile, but you're probably still going to get hit. The same is true with Gedna Relvel, the Lich under Mournhold. It's as if Bethesda realized how impotent their mages are. So when the expansion rolled around, they just gave their boss mages huge explosions. If Araynys' spells had a 5 or 10 foot area of effect, you'd have to be more strategic with your dodging. You'd have to fight from a high ground and avoid standing near walls. It might not be reasonable to rely solely on dodging, so you'd probably have to bring some resistance potions with you. Could have been interesting. What's really important is hitting him with Soul Trap. Evidently, the Dispel effect doesn't remove Soul Trap, so that's good news. If you get Soul Trapped, you're screwed. Nothing you can do about it. Stay away from Soul Gems. Because Ash Vampires were made deadlier, their soul value has been increased. In the base game, they've only got 300 point souls, less than a Golden Saint, which is strange. Now, they've got 500 point souls, and that means we can use them to make constant effect enchantments. It's a good thing they drop expensive loot. We're gonna need it. Thanks. Before we leave, we'll get the real treasure hiding in this place. There's a 6th house shrine guarded by an old woman with a stick. And in that shrine is the Daedric Face of Inspiration, a pair of ebony boots, and the Fang of Hanek Tanamet. Also a Telvanni Cephalopod helm. It's got a decently high enchanting capacity, so we'll hold on to it. Because I took heavy armor as a major skill, I'm gonna wear the boots and helmet. I know that means removing the Colovian fur helm, but I fear I need the extra defense. Let's put this vampire soul to use. Enchantments are expensive, but we just so happen to loot an artifact that the Mournhold Museum is interested in. The Fang of Hanek Tanamet has a value of 32,000 septums, and Tarasa Aram will give us half of that. No strings attached. With that extra 16k, we'll go to Ryan Gosling, buy a few more Grand Soul Gems, bribe him to max disposition, and enchant an extravagant belt with a constant effect bound battle axe. It only costs a 9.3k, possibly the best gold to value ratio you could find in the whole game. Sure, you can't enchant the battle axe itself, but it's a weightless Daedric battle axe with a 10-point axe fortification. What weapon enchantment could beat that? Oh, absorb health that only works a dozen times before the weapon runs out of juice. No thanks. To recoup the cost of the enchantment, we'll sell the soul ring that Araynys dropped. Although if we buy some scrolls, we could get even more value from this sale. What scrolls did Ryan spawn with this run? Wind form. Oh, those restock too. That'll make getting around places way quicker. I won't use it in combat though. It's not only disorienting, but it'd make things too easy. Or annoying. Maybe not easy, but it's too fast. That's one of the reasons why I didn't bother getting the Boots of Blinding Speed. Soul Trap scrolls would be nice to have too. They're more reliable than casting the actual spell. Does he carry Fergie's gem munching? Oh, Akasha's lock splitter. What the? Ryan is stacked this run. Definitely gonna buy a few of those. I wasn't planning on picking any 100 point locks, but hey, good to have around, right? But he has no Soul Trap scrolls. What a useless enchanter. Dinar Lurvy has them. Our next target is Dagoth Uthol, the ash vampire hiding in the caves under Coggeron. A sobering demonstration that the ghost fence is absolutely useless. The 6th house literally tunneled through the mountains, under the ghost fence, and ended up in the Coggeron sewers. Surprise, the tribunal is myopic. Anyway, we've got some new enemies here. Noodle Snoots and Squid Faces. The Noodle Snoots aren't terribly different. A little more health, a 20-point reflect effect, and an immunity to poison and paralysis. The greatest difference is their spell variety. Along with their standard weak drain health spell, on touch, they also come with Flame Bolt, Frostball, and Dire Shock Ball, all doing upwards of 50 damage. Why this one never bothered using even the fire attack is a mystery. This is a named Noodle Snoot, maybe that's why? I don't know.
You shall serve as flesh or dust.
The Squid Faces, as you'd expect, have more health, and they're immune to poison, paralysis, and normal weapons. But they've also got a 100-point burden effect mixed into their magic balls. It's not a problem right now, since I'm only carrying 209 out of 320 bramble plinths, but it may become an issue later. Ah, here's a Noodle Snoot using magic. Oh, Jesus, is it using scrolls? That's some rapid fire. Our primary target may be the Ash Vampire at the end of this dungeon, but if that were the only reason for coming here, then we could have gone through the back door and skipped Coggoran entirely. We want to collect all the valuables in this place. The glass equipment on this corpse, the ebony sword on this corpse, and of course all the 6th house amulets that the Noodle Snoots and Squid Faces drop. They're worth about 2k each. I'll need all the gold I can get if I want to take advantage of the Ash Vampire's girthy souls. I don't feel like getting my strength drained by this Bone Walker, so let's keep our distance. Oops, too much distance. How do I get back up? We'll use the Vampiric Ring to heal off the Bone Walker, while the lava melts our feet. Would you just jump, damn it? There we go. Lava is a liquid, so slippery when wet. Oh, I'm sorry, magma, because we're underground, because it's different. If you collected lava in a bucket and brought it into a coal mine, would it become magma again? Technically considered magma? Or am I misunderstanding what magma and lava are? Dagoth Uthol. He's best handled at a range because he's got 2 touch spells. Hand of Uthol, which places a 100% weakness to magicka on the target for 10 seconds, and Wrath of Uthol, which absorbs 40 points of health, fatigue, and magicka. He's also a bit speedier than normal, so he can close the distance pretty quick. If he would cast the spell while running me down, he'd be way more difficult, but he doesn't, so he's not. Before the killing blow, we hit him with Soul Trap, and... gotcha. Also, more loot to sell. Here's the door he was guarding, I guess. Was he guarding it? I don't know. But as you can see, there's a direct path from within the ghost fence to the Ashlands. I wonder if they went north to keep a low profile while they built up their forces in the sparsely populated Ashlands, or maybe they just picked a random direction and started digging. Or maybe it's because Coggoran is the closest stronghold. Aldrun's even closer than Coggoran, but that'd probably be a bit too heavy-handed for the 6th house. Coggoran makes sense. Almost forgot to get these Daedric gauntlets. Back in town, we do some wheeling and dealing with Tanar Lurvy to get enough gold to afford another enchantment. Not a constant effect one though. Instead, I want a fast way to heal. I think restore health 19 to 20 points for 6 seconds on an extravagant shirt is good enough. To dump all the unenchanted armor and weapons, we return to Mournhold and sell it all to Katia Socia. Yeah, we could just sell this stuff to Creeper or the Mudcrab Merchant and get even more gold, but I feel if we're going to be making strong enchanted items, we shouldn't go about getting gold the easy way, you know? The gold cost of enchanting is high because enchanting is so good. Using the Creature Merchants sort of invalidates what little balance there already is. And I like it as a sort of progression system. Money feels like XP, and each septum is more valuable when merchants aren't throwing gold at you. Well, not throwing as much gold at you. And before we leave, we'll sell some 6th house amulets to Ryan Nurmark. The remaining Ash Vampires are beyond the Ghost Fence. Before venturing out into the Blight, I did a bit more alchemy, made stronger potions, and bought some training from the Fighters Guild. Couple more levels, few more attributes. It feels appropriate to use the Ghost Gate this time around. God damn, you don't realize how many enemies are behind the Ghost Fence if you always just levitate to the citadels. Endusal, Kagranak's study, the vampire citadel of Dagoth Endus. It's a rather Spartan citadel. A Dremora guards the first door, and behind him is an Ash Slave and a Noodle Snoot. Why the Noodle Snoots don't bother using their projectile attacks is anyone's guess. It just keeps spamming its weak drain health spell, and it's not even that dangerous. It's like 15 points of health. Drain health doesn't stack, so I don't know what he's doing. Dagoth Endus is a bit more dangerous than the other vampires because his spell actually has an area of effect. It deals 5 to 20 points of fire damage for 3 seconds within 3 feet of where it hits. His arena is pretty spacious though, so the 3-foot sphere isn't hard to dodge. If the radius were a bit bigger, then it might have been necessary to bring some fire resistance potions or fire resistance spells, but it's not, so I didn't have to. His spell also has a disintegrate armor effect mixed into it, but that's pretty trivial. Along with his amulets, we'll loot Kagranak's journal and the expensive gear sitting on his shelves. You won't be needing them. Veminal is the next stronghold on our list. Because Dagoth Vemyn is holding onto Sunder, his melee attacks are pretty strong. He's not actually wielding the weapon, but maybe he's absorbing some latent Dwemer energy from the tool, making his melee attacks do up to 100 damage. Along with that, he's got a 10-second paralyze spell that damages our fatigue by 50 for 3 seconds, and it absorbs our strength by 10 points for 120 seconds. The extra effects seem like overkill. 10 seconds of paralysis with melee attacks as strong as his? Yeah, you die pretty quick. But as long as I avoid his spell casts, it's just a matter of getting lucky accuracy rolls. Oh, did you notice that? Looting Sunder dealt me a mortal wound, nearly killing me. You gotta pick up Sunder to put it in your pocket, right? Well, picking up Sunder is dangerous. You need Wraithguard so you don't get hurt. It's a tiny change, one that I didn't realize would happen, but I kinda like it. I assume Keening will also damage us when we pick it up, so let's go find out. Off to Odros. It's a shame you could just pick the lock on the door and loot Keening without so much as having to look at Dagoth Odros. It's certainly worth fighting and soul trapping his golden saint minion, though. Only a level 20 lock? Really? You'd think the mod would at least bump up the level a little bit. Ooh, a Dwemer Cuirass. Better than the steel one we're wearing, so why not? Okay, enough stalling. Oh. So the trouble is that both squid faces cast a 100-point burden spell on me as soon as I enter the room. I could try to tank the damage while standing locked in place, but I don't think that'll work. Instead, we'll lessen our load and drop a bunch of this loot, including Sunder. Ooh, that's tricky. Okay, we'll drop Sunder first and hope for a low roll on the mortal wound damage. With less than 150 bramble plinths in our inventory, even with 2 squid debuffs, we shouldn't be over-encumbered. For the last couple dozen bramble plinths, we'll use the Amulet of Heart Heal we got from Dagoth Vemyn. It boosts our strength by 10 to 20 points, more than enough to counteract the squid face's burden. It'll make us levitate too, so that's annoying, but it's better than being glued in place. Man, this healthy shirt is doing work. I swear, this fight was harder than all the other Ash Vampires combined. God damn. At least we got Keening as a reward. Oh no, the dagger has turned to dust. What an unforeseen tragedy. Yeah, so the mod not only places strong NPCs to guard Keening inside the shrine room, but it's also a fake version of Keening. A decoy. A false copy, if you will. Dagoth Odros has it on his person, as I feel he should. Dagoth Odros is a sneaky, conniving Ash Vampire, even by House Dagoth standards. At least that's the theme I'm getting from him. Notice that he's rather translucent. You see, he's got 60% chameleon, which doesn't really help him too much. It's mostly a stylistic thing, but he's also got 90 points of Sanctuary. Just as each point of attack adds a flat 1% to your accuracy roll, each point of Sanctuary adds 1% to your evasion roll. This means Odros is effectively unhittable. So what do? Well, Sanctuary has no effect on magic, so we gotta use magic. The Vampiric Ring is strong, but it's not gonna cut it. Let's place a mark in Odrosol and Civi back to Aldrun. With the Golden Saint Soul we captured, we make an Absorb Health enchantment, 1 to 50 points for 3 seconds on touch, and we place it on an extravagant shirt. That'll give us 13 casts of the spell, averaging 75 damage per cast, assuming I don't cast it too quickly and overwrite an unfinished dot. 23k ain't too bad of a cost, but we don't want Tenar Lurvi keeping all this gold. Money causes problems, and it's a burden we don't want to foist upon her. We'll have her buy some of the loot we collected. I don't think YouTube would let me get away with putting in the Benny Hill theme here. Yeah, maybe a little bit. It's always a good idea to have an Ash Vampire's soul in your back pocket. For emergencies. 2 Keenings? That might be a glitch. And it deals mortal wounds when we loot it, just like Sunder. I like it. To be honest, that's probably my favorite change of this whole mod. Very immersive. Tureynul, Kagranak's library, the final citadel on our list. In here, we find several optional noodle snoots and squid faces, all of which we kill for their amulets. And of course, we also find Dagoth Tureynul. He's guarding a room full of books, this huge nerd. But we actually need one of the books locked in the chest behind him. He's got the key, so he's gotta die. He doesn't have much of a gimmick, but he can damage our strength with both his on-target and untouched spells. So, like a Greater Bonewalker, we want to stay away from him as much as possible. Aside from that, he's pretty simple. Another boss that could benefit from some AoE. We go around the library reading a bunch of the skill books and loot the final item we need to defeat Dagoth Ur, Kagranak's plan book. Because with the power of knowledge, you can do anything. Wait, not final. Second to final, penultimate. The final item comes from Vivec. To be more precise, Vivec's corpse. But first, science. By making hundreds of potions and getting dozens of alchemy levels, we can get several character levels super fast. I don't care about attributes for this, there's no need to min-max, I just want the levels. Every level gives us 10 points of health, and we need as much as possible. Not because Vivec is hard to kill, but because jury-rigging Wraithguard hurts. Level 12, 170 points of health, not enough to survive the jury-rigging process, but I've got a solution for that. Equipping Wraithguard after Yagrim tinkers with it does between 200 and 220 points of damage, so a 40 to 50 point Fortify health enchantment should do the job. We need to make sure it lasts long enough so we can heal before the Fortify effect wears off. If we can't, then we'll die, and dying is bad. Remember the Scrolls of Akasha's Lock Splitter we bought ages ago? From Ryan and Mournhold? Those would let us into Vivec's palace with ease, but it's not as funny. We kill Tholar Suryani, take his palace key, and pay our bounty of 1,040 gold. The Pope's life is worth half of a 6th house amulet. How admirable the Vardenfell justice system is. Priest or peasant, everyone's life is worthless. Well, I guess technically not worthless, they're worth 1,000 gold. Vivec's spells are easy to dodge, and even if they hit, I resist enough of the damage to not die in a single hit. Another enemy that would benefit from area of effect spells. With the unique Dwemer artifact in hand, we go to Yagrim Bagarn, give him both Kagranak's journal and plan book, fortify our health so he agrees to repair the device, wait a day, fortify our health once again, receive the artifact, and equip Wraithguard. The gauntlet deals 209 points of damage, nearly killing us. But by using our enchanted shirt and healing back to full, we wait for the fortify effect to wear off, and we're safe, off to Dagoth Ur. Unsurprisingly, this place is full of enemies. Sleepers, ghouls, slaves, zombies, everything you'd expect. At the very end of the gauntlet, past the final Noodle Snoot and the out-of-place Bone Lord, is our last Ash Vampire. Assuming you don't count Dagoth Ur as an Ash Vampire himself. Dagoth Gilvoth. I want to show him a bit of respect, but his main gimmick is that he's immune to fire and frost, so a frost magic using Nord might have some trouble with him. But I'm not a magic user.
Dagoth Ur welcomes you, Nerevar, my old friend. But to this place where destiny is made, why have you come unprepared?
Wow, he's like a goddamn machine gun. And I can barely hit him. And he has a constant healing effect. And my stats have been drained. Okay, this is tougher than I thought it'd be. Let's regroup. We'll place a mark here, because recall and intervention do work in this place, and return to Outrun. To counteract his stat drains, we'll enchant that Telvanni cephalopod helm we picked up countless ages ago, and place a weak restore attribute effect on it. You may have noticed it says fortify attribute strength rather than restore attribute strength. Now why do you think I did that? If you said because I clicked the wrong spell and didn't notice, you'd be right. Clearly the axe isn't working. Maybe the mod makes him inherently weak to Sunder for some reason. I don't know. Still can't hit him for shit. Remember that Scroll of Warrior's Blessing we looted from Aldredania? We still have it. Those extra points of attack might come in clutch right about now. It's certainly better than before, but it's still not great. Why is he so evasive? Uh-oh. Whoa, that was like 70 damage. Let me look at the mod page real quick. Oh, he's got 50 points of Sanctuary. That explains it. Oh, and he has 50% magic resistance too. Immune to paralysis, poison, and normal weapons. 1500 health. Dagoth Ur is jacked. But not jacked enough. All it takes is a bit of persistence. Unfortunately, his final form isn't all that different from the vanilla version of him. Yeah, he's got more health and magicka, but we're beelining it for the heart anyway.
How could you be so naive? There is no escape.
You know, you can't actually kill ash vampires. The heart always reawakens members of the 6th house, and returns them to Nirn, just like Dagoth Ur. Imagine if for every vampire you've killed, the final form of Dagoth Ur would be weakened, but one of the other vampires would be present during the fight. The heart expended its energy, reforming all 7 vampires so it couldn't power up Dagoth Ur to his full potential, or something. Make it like a boss rush. Either you fight a really powerful version of Dagoth Ur without the vampires, or you fight a weaker version of Dagoth Ur and all the vampires. Or both, make it a stronger Dagoth Ur and the vampires, who gives a shit? That'd be neat. I like this mod. Makes the main threat more threatening. I might play with this mod turned on in the future just for fun. Add a little bit of spice. Make it a bit more fun for myself. We'll see.